There may not be another prospect as high as Paul Skeens just waiting in the wings, but there are still some rookies that could help you this year. In fact, there are some players that are on active rosters already right now that you could stash. If you love watching baseball and playing fantasy baseball, you probably love playing MLB The Show on PlayStation, Xbox, or Switch. Well, the best place to get those stubs without paying full price is MMOAH.com. On top of their already discounted price, you get an extra 5% off by using code ENDGAME. You can build your perfect Diamond Dynasty even faster by clicking the link in the description below and using our promo code. So I want to start with a player who actually is not a prospect anymore, lost that status last year, but Luis Matos is definitely still waiting to break out, and now might be his chance. Matos is going to be the regular center fielder for the time being, and who knows, maybe the rest of the season, because, man, the Giants are devastated with the injuries. So Jung-Ho Lee with a shoulder injury. As of right now, don't know the severity. I do know he's on the injured list. It doesn't sound like it's just going to be a short 10-day stint either. Hopefully it's not the worst case where he's out potentially the rest of the season, but separated shoulder is nothing to sneeze at. So Matos is going to take his place. Man, Giants already needed help because they already had two outfielders on the IL in Michael Conforto and Jorge Soler. And plus you add players like Nick Ahmed, Austin Slater. I mean, you name it. This is a veteran-laden team that is suddenly missing half of its veterans. Now, last year, Matos got about half a season's worth of playing time, and I mean, he did okay, but nothing too memorable. Hit 250, only 2 home runs, 14 RBIs, and that was over 253 plate appearances. So we're not just talking a cup of coffee. I mean, he was up for a fair amount of time, and I mean, he kind of held his own, but again, from a fantasy standpoint, didn't really do anything to help teams. He's just 22 years old, or just last year, he was the number 7 prospect for the Giants farm system. You know, we've been waiting to see what he can do with some extended run, and now is his chance. A little bit more hit over power kind of a prospect, but he can produce, you know, maybe get you a good line, score a fair amount of runs, which he did last year if he moves his way to the top of the lineup. And that hit tool of his should be pretty good, ranked at a 70 grade. It's pretty high. He should eventually be able to help teams a lot in terms of batting average, and again, score some runs depending on where he is in the order. Not going to get a ton in terms of power, speed, you know, those sexy categories, and it's just the Giants lineup. I mean, there's nothing sexy about this offense in any way, and it's not really a hitter's park. So again, let's realize that the ceiling is somewhat limited. But hey, you need some outfield help and you know, somebody who can help you in terms of batting average. Let's take a look at Matos and see what he can do now that he's definitely going to have a chance to play every day. Well, I guess I'm going to kind of cheat again. I'll talk about another guy who has lost prospect status, but according to Jeff Zimmerman from Fangraphs, does deep dives on a lot of players, but especially some rookies, says, look, Tyler Soderstrom, he was up last year enough to lose rookie status, but he's effectively still a prospect. That's because in the 2023 season, we saw 125 at-bats. Not quite the same kind of look as Matos. He was never an everyday player, so he's not going to be a rookie this year, but he's just now gotten the call up. He's been on the squad for not even a week. 4 for his first 12. Is he going to get a chance now? Well, we'll see. Look, they've already got a pair of catchers who are playing pretty well. Shea Langoliers and Kyle McCann, another prospect of theirs. So he's kind of blocked behind the plate right now, but actually I think his best path is to continue to play first base. Soderstrom is still a work in progress defensively, but if he hits the way that they project and hope that he hits, maybe they can just set him at first base and not worry about the catching. And that first base job, like a lot of positions in Oakland, is kind of up for grabs. Remember, their opening day first baseman was Ryan Noda, and then he got sent down. Tyler Nevin, who they claimed off waivers, was filling the job, and he was hot. And now he's not, and now they've been basically either putting him either in left field or DH, and Soderstrom is getting a chance to claim that job. Look, he's got the hit tool, he's got some power, and I know this is not a great offensive situation, but Soderstrom is somebody who could definitely give you some upside in the home run category. Now, some analysts, like Jeff Zimmerman, said he might be kind of a Shea Langoliers clone, or maybe if you think about like a Francisco Alvarez, guy who's a little bit more raw power than hit tool, probably won't help you in terms of batting average, so you're kind of depending on those home runs. I think he's going to do a little bit better than that. But even so, again, we're talking about a guy who qualifies at catcher, so you can stick him there, which is nice, but he plays first base too. I think this is a good time to grab him. He's really flown under the radar despite being a top prospect because of where he plays. I've already scooped him up in a couple of leagues. I think you can do the same before anybody realizes, hey, this guy's up, and he's now suddenly playing most every day. All right, now an actual prospect who has yet to make his big league debut. Team that definitely needs help also is the Miami Marlins. Well, is Victor Mesa Jr. going to be the next one to get the call? He could be on his way. Now, again, this team has plenty of openings, and the outfield is no exception. Look, we've seen Brian De La Cruz actually put together a pretty good start to the season. He's not a young buck anymore. He's about 27 years old, but still, he's holding it down, and he's playing either outfield or DH. Jesus Sanchez still continues to kind of disappoint, not living up to his potential. How much longer a leash will they give him? Who knows? And the other outfield spot is pretty much held down by a combination of veterans Nick Gordon and Dane Myers, who, no offense, but these are guys who have jobs right now because they're on a team like the Marlins, better served as bench depth or utility players. But like at some point, we've got to give the future a look, and Mesa is that future. He could be ready now based on how he's performing so far in the minors. Now, in early age, Victor Mesa Jr. was thought to be a little bit like Matos. I mean, not that kind of hit tool, but a little more hit over power, a decent glove. But now he's kind of transformed it. He's going a little bit more for power over contact, and that led to some strikeout issues early on. He's definitely improved his defense, though, so he could profile as a center fielder, although, Jazz Chisholm is stuck there right now. But look, as far as position, I don't think that's really the issue. Is his bat ready? He's shown some major strides. Right now in AAA, he's hitting .281, and he's dropped that strikeout rate to 16.3%. And he has shown some pop too, 6 home runs and 26 RBIs. So Mesa Jr., I don't know he's imminent for a call-up because, again, this team really has not much to play for at this point. They're going to try some guys out, see who really earns playing time. At some point, what do they have to lose with Mesa? When he shows he is really ready, I see him maybe getting the call in June. Now, if you're looking for pitching help, I don't know if there's a lot on the horizon in terms of starting pitching because a lot of the big names have already gotten the call. A lot of others, we're still waiting for them to develop a little bit more. But one player who I have talked about in the past is Cade Horton for the Cubs. I'm going to bring him up again because it's interesting now that he just got promoted from AA to AAA. Some people have taken notice. In fact, in CBS leagues, where you typically have a lot of fantasy owners there who are really on top of things, very competitive, he's 26% rostered already, despite not making his major league debut. Well, the reason why people are over him is because he's a Cub. Cubs prospects and Cubs pitchers have done fairly well lately. We've seen Ben Brown, although he did just get moved from the rotation back to the bullpen. He's been pretty successful. But that's the issue right now with Horton is, well, a couple of things. First of all, there's no obvious spot in the rotation here because the Cubs got some pieces back. Justin Steele, Jameson Taillon are off the IL, and guys like Javier Sad are pitching pretty well. And Shota Imanaga looks like a Cy Young winner. So Horton doesn't seem bound to get called up right now, but I do think that promotion caught people's eyes, and so we just need to see him really work on his game in AAA because so far, not so good since the promotion. At the AA level, 1.10 ERA in his first 4 starts. But so far in his 2 AAA starts, not so good. In fact, he gave up 6 runs in his last start in only 3 innings. So I almost want to say it might be too early to jump on Horton, but I got to mention him now because it seems like everybody is already on this train right now. You might not be able to wait any longer if you do want him if he gets called up in June or even July. And that brings me to another pitching prospect who doesn't seem to have a path right now to a rotation spot, but you never know how these things work. So in Minnesota, David Festa could be part of that rotation sooner rather than later. What we're looking at is maybe, of course, injury, which happens to anybody. Maybe Simeon Woods Richardson, who's been pretty good so far. If he starts to struggle, we could see him optioned. And then maybe Festa's the guy who takes his spot. The reason for that, he's looked dominant at times right now in AAA. Got an ERA of 3 even. Now, the whip is actually not that great at 1.47 because he's walking too many batters for sure. But I think it's okay when you strike out 37% of your batters. Clearly, you want to see a little bit more command, right? These things kind of even out before you put him up at the big league level. But hey, this guy has a ton of upside. Now, he also might need to show that he can handle a workload of being a major league starter because 6'6", only 185. I mean, think Tristan McKenzie here, and we know McKenzie's had all sorts of physical issues. We have seen his velocity tick up recently. Festa has the stuff to get hitters out, but we want to see that walk rate come down. Again, right now, he's purely a speculative stash because there is nowhere to put him in Minnesota's rotation. But again, things change all the time. Keep your eye on him. If you're in a deep keeper league or you just have a ton of NA spots, sure, you can put him on the side for right now. But again, this is someone to watch for later on. Always got to be watching the waiver wire for those young potential breakouts and also those veterans who can just help you right here, right now. If you didn't catch last week's waiver wire video, it's still up right here.